Gone and done it this time. Here we go. So, if you haven't seen on Instagram yet, Julian Arteaga, aka Julian's Alright on Instagram, has made a post about Eclat BMX company. And we make things as a larger umbrella brand over top of We the People, Eclat, and others. So, Julian Arteaga, according to this, has been affiliated with Eclat for 7 years and is now no longer riding for the company. So first up, we got this clip here, and things are about to get interesting. So he posted this an hour ago. It says, "Damn, bummed to announce that I'm no longer riding for Eclat. This post is merely to explain my experience with this brand of We Make Things," so the larger brand. "After the call, I was in disbelief. I've been on for 6 years flow and less than a year on pro. So naturally I was confused. This has been a problem for a while now that a lot of riders have gone through, and it seems like no one really speaks up about it." Amen to that. The one-sidedness that they bring. So here we go. And this is not me speaking from any kind of experience of working with these companies whatsoever. I'm bringing you this directly from Julian with my insight and thoughts afterwards. So it says here in the next slide, "My entire experience on flow was rough. Would take 2 to 3 months to send stuff out. Either it was not what you asked for or anodized sunshine orange. They made me drive to LA to pick up used Churchill wheels. Constantly got told I was going to be on trips with the team, not one. Always being asked to send over content without providing any help, even after 3 parts for them." I'm assuming he means video parts. So one day I called to try and leave, explaining that I was going to focus more on Sunday. They got me to stay, and a week later I got the bump to pro. So squeaky wheel gets the grease, maybe. Moving on from there, mind you, in the past 6 years, I saw a lot of riders in and out, though they've been running through the game pretty fast. Though they've been running through the game pretty fast, I was still stoked to be a part of it and finally get after it. I was constantly being asked for content still. I kept explaining that I've been so slammed with Sunday and burn slow stuff since it's both local and easy. I said, if you can get me somewhere, I'll film anything. Ask anyone that knows me. I will drop whatever and hop in a van or plane and film effing everything. They still did nothing and expected content." Moving on. Then they come up to me about a signature grip, and this is where things get interesting. Man, I was so excited. My first signature part was about to go hard. Sent in sketches that I had when I was like 15 that I really liked. Dude was drawing sketches of grips when he was 15. After going back and forth and having one computerized sample, I got ghosted from the designer. So I assumed like the 15 trips that it was dropped, and they didn't want to talk about it. I finally get on a trip, Eclat in Vegas. 2 days in, I see they post a new grip. The one I made was out, but without my name or anything. This is why we're talking about this. Known as the Octa grip. Everyone later on agreed that I got screwed. This is why this is so important. This being talked about in situations like this happening, you can guarantee are not new in BMX. But people speaking out like this, well, this is somewhat new. Next up. So now I'm on a trip filming for a company that just stole my very first signature part and didn't care. I shrugged it off and continued to go hard for the trip. After all this, I get a call to tell me I'm off the team, knowing that I just started a trip. Great mental energy when starting a trip, right? So all of this is a lot, I know. It's for the kids that are growing up seeing the brand. It's a brand that's been taking advantage of riders for years now. I'd be hesitant if this was a brand that y'all are aiming to represent. Ain't always what it seems. Love the team though. Some badass people. So in the comments, there's so many people just like, yes, I'm so glad you spoke up. And that is my exact perspective. Yes, I'm so glad that you spoke up. And what I'm glad to see here is that Julian is talking about his experience, because there is no doubt that maybe, while not as severe as this, there are other things that happen in the BMX world for people who represent these companies and literally work for these companies. And when these things happen, you feel like you can't talk about them. This is part of the problem because BMX is so small. It's such a small world, and the paychecks from these companies, if you're even getting one, is so small. You might be getting some parts, or if you're getting a paycheck, it's like not something that you could live off of alone. You need all of the sponsors you can get. So you feel like, well, if I speak up about this one thing, it could hurt me for my other situations, or whatever the reasoning might be. There's so many different things that you could talk about here that would make a rider scared to speak up about this. I mean, for the fact of people getting potentially mad at him behind the scenes, what you're not seeing in comments, for him saying stuff like this publicly, especially the companies. But the point I want to get at with talking about this right now is to spread the fact that without talking about situations like this and people sharing their experiences, and then the customers deciding with their money for these companies, like how well they do, there can't be a change. It will just continue. There will be situations where people are just treated terribly and nothing will change because it can't be spoken up about. So I really, really hope that Julian Arteaga, being upfront, transparent, and honest about all of this, helps spark a change. I didn't see any kind of like response from Eclat or We Make Things as a company, but I can imagine there might be something. Maybe there won't be. I don't know. But what I want to drive home here is that if you are in a situation like this, maybe it's not best to, go out and blow up on social media and tell everyone about everything that goes wrong at all. But if you're dealing with something for 7 years and then a company steals your idea for a part and doesn't put your name on it, maybe there's more to that story. We got to look at both sides evenly in every situation because there's always 3 sides of any story. There's one side from one party, the other side from another party, and then the truth right there in the middle somewhere. But you can't feel like someone like Julian Arteaga, who knows that he's potentially jeopardizing where he's at in BMX by putting this out here, would be lying when he's doing it. So I really hope that more people start to speak up whenever they're treated very poorly, and it doesn't turn into like, well, they didn't post my clip that I sent in a justified situation. I hope we see more of this, and I really hope that it sparks change, because without the talking, I'll say it again, there can't be change. People have spoken up about things throughout the years, and then they've been kicked to the side, blacklisted from BMX, and I don't think we can let this happen to Julian for speaking out about this. And I don't know how he'd feel about me making this video, but I have been talking about this stuff for years, and to see it starting to happen just has me excited for the potential of things just getting better for riders. If you're going to ride for next to nothing as far as paychecks goes, or just free parts, and you're going to put your body on the line and have things like this happen, you're going to put in the kind of work that you do, you should be treated fairly. And that's clearly not the case for how Julian has felt in his situation. And we scroll down here very quickly to find Sean Burns' comment, because Sean Burns has ridden for Eclat forever. And he says, honestly, it's no different than other brands. Every bike company with lots of employees is the same. That's saying something in itself. For those of you outside of the BMX industry, this stuff happens all the time. That's why I'm making this video. It says people deal with BS while there's one dude running it all 24 hours a day, stressed as hell. Sorry you had such a bad experience. I've only had good things come from Eclat, and the bad things I understood because I run a company myself, and it is a nightmare, honestly. While I think there's no justifying stealing somebody's grip, if that's like, in the end, that's what happened. Like, Julian makes this grip or works on this grip with somebody, and then they just ghost him and put it out. While I think there's no justification for that, I think that some of this, maybe you could understand bits and pieces of it, and being from a company owner's perspective, I just think that things can always be better. So before I ramble any further, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm curious to have this conversation because this is important stuff to talk about and it's pertinent information, which is why I'm getting it out there as soon as possible. Probably going to have a live stream here at like 4:30 Eastern potentially, unless something changes, and then I have another live stream at 8:30 p.m. with a dude from Dan's Comp, where it's things like this that I think the transparency in BMX and conversations that we have can only help make things better, where riders feel like they can speak up about bad situations that they have experienced. And I like to see stuff like this. When Adam LZ quit Stranger because he said he wasn't getting paid, and then Ty Morrow even chimed in on that as well. I forget exactly what was said, but I remember that happened. More of that, so people know what they're getting in for, and people can vote for which companies they want to support with their money, rather than thinking that, everything's fine and dandy because no one's talking about bad stuff and we can support anything. Well, if we know that companies have tendencies to treat their riders like this, maybe we don't want to support them that way. So, on that note, thanks for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in live streams later on today, as well as the news tomorrow. And I got a live stream with Sponge right after the news. Lots going on. Another quick note here, if there is a response from We Make Things or Eclat or We the People or whatever, I will make another video updating. Maybe I'll talk about it in the news, but I will keep you updated because, of course, like I said, there's 3 sides to every story, and it's maybe there is some reasonable explanation to justify this stuff. I don't know, but if we do find that out or whatever there might be, I will keep you updated. Crazy stuff in the BMX world, and I'm happy to see people speaking up about it. So thank you, Julian, and we'll see you guys later.